Hi, this is Jeff Kemp of Site Subscribe. This is going to be a demo of WordPress and how to administer your website using the WordPress dashboard. This demo was produced by sitesubscribe.com. The front end, or public website. So you'll notice that the URL, the web address in the browser at the top, is showing sitesubscribe.com/vision-learning. So their website for this customer is vision-learning, and that's a temporary URL that we'll be using until the website is completely finished and ready to be published, and then we'll use a domain mapping plugin that will allow us to use the domain name of the customer. That would be vision-learning.org instead of this temporary URL that you see here. At this point, I just want to point out that as a web development company, doing web design and web services, we highly recommend using the following web browsers. We recommend Firefox, Safari, or Google Chrome. We do not recommend using Internet Explorer as your web browser for many different reasons. Primarily, a lot of the functionality and design elements that work very well in the recommended browsers do not work at all in Internet Explorer. And in fact, we have to do a lot of workarounds, and special effort is made to try to get Internet Explorer just to render the page at all, let alone to render it in a nicer way. So any version of Internet Explorer is not recommended. In particular, the older versions, version 7 and earlier, are very problematic. So if you have a chance, go ahead and install Firefox or Safari or Google Chrome for your web browsing. Let's start with the WordPress login screen. So that was what we call the front end website, or the public website. That's the URL that points to your website. Now we want to go to the login screen so that we can administer your Site Subscribe WordPress website. So there's a login screen accessed via the URL that we were at before, which is, if it's a temporary URL, it's sitesubscribe.com/your domain. And then we're going to tack on the end of that /WP-admin. It's WP hyphen and the word admin, ADMIN. And if your domain is already set up to map to your website, then we can go ahead and use your domain, put a / at the end of that, and then WP-admin. And that's a WordPress convention that gets you to the WordPress login screen for every WordPress website. The key here is at the end of the URL, you put a / WP for WordPress dash or hyphen admin, and hit return, and it should bring you to this screen. So we go log in, and I'll show you how to create users, so it's pretty simple. You can do that yourself. Anyway, so I've got my username already in there, password, and we'll need to create users for all the people that don't have that login yet. So now the back end, what we basically call the back end, has 3 or 4 different names we use for that. It's called the WordPress dashboard, the back end, the administrative dashboard, all that works. So now this is the WordPress dashboard, or the admin dashboard, or the back end. There's a lot of different little what's called widgets in here. You'll notice if you hover over the blue bar, the hand shows up. That means you can drag and drop this stuff. So one thing that's really handy is this one down here called Pages Tree View. You can grab that and drag it up towards the top of the screen. That actually has the pages of your website right here, and it's a real easy way to navigate to edit those pages. And eventually there's also a Google Analytics little widget that we can put on here that'll show your page views and things like that for your analytics. And that's something you usually want to have towards the top, so when you log in you see that right away. So over here you have the different menu items within the dashboard. We've got posts, media, links, pages. So we'll just start with pages for now. And you can get to the pages from two places, from expanding this any of these little menu items. If you hover over them, you'll notice on the right there's a light shaded arrow, and that means there's sub items under there, sub menu items within that. So you can expand that pages menu, or you can just click right on pages. That works as well. You can expand that out. Clicking on this pages link is the same as clicking on the first sub menu item here, which is pages. That brings you all the pages in a kind of a different view instead of this hierarchy here. I find this hierarchy to be a little more convenient, so I often will use this. Or you can go underneath the pages menu. We have something called Pages Tree View, which is the same as this thing here. And if you click on that, it brings up the page tree. So here's the page tree that we clicked on right here. Now we have that view again. So basically these are all the internal pages on your website. You can expand and collapse if there's anything that's a sub page that's underneath another page, or you might call it a sub page or a child page. You can collapse these and just see the main, basically the top level of the menu items right here. And so it's really easy to navigate. So let's just go into the top one here just to make it simple. You can go into any of these. So to get to a page, to edit it, you can just click this little edit button here, or you can also view the page here. That would be the same. Viewing the page here is the same as if you went to the what we call the public website, and you came up, you found the page in the menu and clicked on it. It's the same thing. So if you click view, it's going to take you to that page. But we want to get to the actual page editor so we can look at how we can actually change the content of that page. So we're going to click edit. And right before I do that, I'm just going to show you that other way to get in here is if you clicked on the pages view here, it's going to bring up all the pages, but more of in like a list view. It shows it to you in a list, and you can scroll down. It's a little harder to see what's what and where they are and stuff like that. They're all there, just in a different view. And it has a little more information over here on the side about that. So let's just go back. I'm going to go back a page. So I'm going to go to the, I like to use the page tree view, and I like to, so I usually go into pages, expand that, click pages tree, come here, hit edit. Now this is known as the page editor. I'm going to scroll down a little bit, kind of get to the good stuff, basically starting with the page title here. The page editor is very similar, almost identical to the post editor when you're going to create a blog post. So just kind of keep that in mind. We'll go in there and maybe do that as well, but it's really almost the same thing. You've got initially a page title. You can edit the title here. This, if you can read this, this says permalink, and then it has like a URL here. This is the actual URL that how you would access this page. If, for instance, we have vision and learning, and we have this ampersand in here in this page title, this is what shows in the menu, the actual menu on your page. If we come in and we can actually edit the URL, so maybe we don't want that ampersand in there, so we replace it with a dash, or we could put, and dash learning, whatever we want the URL to be. Click OK. So you can actually edit the URL right there. And that's pretty handy, especially if you want to shorten the URL or something like that. Now the main elements here that you're really going to pay attention to is what's called the visual editor. So this is where you're actually editing the content. You've got two views here controlled by these little tabs, the visual editor or the HTML view or HTML editor. That's where you get all the code. So usually the visual editor is where you want to be. And you'll notice that the content is here, but it looks a little bit different. It doesn't have all the styles applied to it. And the reason they do that is just so you can focus on changing content and not necessarily too much about the layout here. So usually what you have to do is edit your content. You can come in here and change the words, add a link. Let's say we want to make this word here a hyperlink. We would highlight the word. This is just like a Word document. You highlight the word, you come up here to one of these little icons and find the little link icon here for hyperlink. You give it the URL that you want to, the URL that you want it to go to. Let's just say we want it to go to that website. You can tell it if you want it to open a new window. We can hit insert. Now that has a hyperlink, just like a Word document. That's very similar. Now say we want to add some another paragraph here. Just come to the end, start typing new text. You can browse down. And one of the more important things that's involved here is you can actually put in headers. So if we come over to, let's go to that actual page so we can see what we're doing. Within each page, typically you're going to have the page title. It's kind of a big bold heading, and usually underneath, down inside the page, you're going to have different headers, and headers can be assigned inside the page editor. So what it does is assigns a particular style. So you highlight the header text that you want and you assign it as a header, and it automatically knows make it this size, make it this color, left justify it, and all that kind of stuff. So let's put a header in here. I'm going to say new header. Just type it in here. You highlight it. You come up to this paragraph box here, a little drop down box, and you assign the heading that you want it to be. Heading 1 is the very largest one. Usually that's reserved for like the page title in most cases. So normally I'll go to a heading 2 for most of these things. It makes it pretty big and makes it bold, and that's all depending on the style that we've applied to that header. So we can go in and through a mechanism called cascading style sheets, or CSS. That's an external text file that we can edit that says make all our headers green, make them all 18-point type, and make them all bold. So what you do is you assign it that style of header 2, or you can make it, if you want to make it, let's do this. Let's put some text here, and then we'll go to a subheading. I'm just using this text just as a point of reference. So let's make a smaller heading underneath that. So notice that heading 3 is smaller than heading 2, etc. So let's make it heading 4 kind of arbitrarily. And then we can say, some more text. So this text here would be known as paragraph text, and this is the heading 4 because we assigned it to that. And one way you can check it is you can actually click into the text itself, and you can look at this box and notice that it says heading 2. So it identifies that for us. And if I click up into this text, it just says paragraph text. So I can tell by clicking into this text right here whether it's actually a heading text or whether somebody just made it big and bold. And the reason that's a little bit important here to make it actually a heading and not just highlight it and make it bold. We could just highlight text here, make it bold, and give it a font size, but that isn't good for the search engines as much for the search engines as giving it a heading. For instance, Google will assign much more importance to something with a heading of 1, header 1, then header 2, header 3, etc., kind of in a hierarchy of importance. So the search engines find your content and they know what's important, and that helps in your page ranking. So you want to use the headers as much as you can to break up your content like we did here. That's really helpful for search engines. So you notice basically each main thought area is kind of separated by a header. And then you can go inside within the paragraph text. You can go inside and you can make it bold, make it italic, change it to whatever you want to do there. Change the font size. But it's important for the search engines that you give it header text and assign those styles. So that's just for your own information thing. So let's add a picture, because that's another thing you're probably going to want to do here. Let's just find a place in here. Insert. The first thing you do is insert your cursor. We come up to this little boxes up here. Those are for inserting images. The first one is for images. The second one is for video. And there's audio. You could actually even insert a form or different things like that. So the most commonly used one, pretty much the only one I really use here, is the images button. So you click that, and it goes to the image uploader screen. We're still on that other page, but it brings up this little box, and it gives us an option to select an image. Now we have several different ways we can do that. We can add an image from our computer, which is kind of the first option shown. We can add an image from a URL. If there's an existing website that has an image, you want to just grab that. You can add it here. And what it's going to do is it's not going to just steal the image, but it's going to borrow the image and upload it into the system here. So you'll have a copy here, so that if that other website that you're adding the URL from, if it ever goes away or they change the location of that image, your image doesn't break. So what it does is it actually grabs it and it uploads it into the system. But let's go. I'm just going to show you the other options. You have a gallery. The gallery option shows you the images that are already on this page in case you wanted to reinsert that image or edit it or whatnot. You have that option from this gallery button, this tab up here. And then you have all the images that have been uploaded thus far into your whole website. And that's the media library. So that's where you can go and look and say, hey, did I upload that bio picture yet? You can check it right here. And you can just basically look at all the images. They're pretty small, little thumbnails, just for you to look at and browse through. If you want to look at it in a larger size, you hit the show link over here. It shows you a little bit bigger. It tells you the dimensions. Here's where you can give it a title to the image. You can edit the information. So this image is already in the WordPress database. It's already uploaded. So, but here maybe you want to edit the information, add a description or whatever. That's really the main benefit for that is for search engines. Again, that's another place where the more information you have, the better your site gets crawled by search engines. Some of the more important things to the images once you upload them or as you're uploading them is you can set the the caption, the alternate text. That's when you mouse over it, the title. But one of the more important things is you can use an image as what's called a featured image. And I'm going to close this window so I can show you what that does. If we come down here on the right side, it says the featured image for this page has already been assigned. And the reason that is showing there is because at one point I came up into here, I added an image, and I assigned it as the featured image. So you can actually, from this media, we call the media uploader or image uploader, you can upload a new file. Let's go ahead and upload a new file. Select a file from the computer. I'm just going to pull one in from here. Click OK, open. It's going to load that file up into the database. Okay, there it is. So what it does is it automatically pulls in the title as the file name. So you may want to change that, make it a little more user friendly. We could just highlight that and just write over that. Let's call it our company ad advertisement. And what I usually do is I copy that, move it into the alternate text, paste it in. So that means when you mouse over it, that's what you're going to see on the website. And alternately, if you wanted to, you could add a caption. I don't always add captions because they're not always appropriate to have a caption underneath a photo. You could add a description if you wanted to. Like I said, the only benefit for that is for search engines to have more stuff to crawl when they crawl your website. And if you wanted to put a link on this image to go to some website, you could put that here. Otherwise, the link to a image automatically goes to the full size of that image. So it basically just shows that image if you click on it. Let's come down to here. You can actually insert different sizes of the image, like a thumbnail size or full size. Now, some of these are grayed out, which means you can't select them, and that's because the particular theme that we're using doesn't have these sizes, and so they're grayed out. So the sizes that are available are dependent on the theme that we're using. So we can insert the full size image or a thumbnail, and we can also select to use that as a featured image. So I'll just go ahead and click that. And it's replacing the featured image that we already had with this one now. And we can also insert that into the post. So now we've just added an image into the database, we inserted it into the post, and if we scroll down, we'll see it also was made as the featured image on this page. What featured images do is they sometimes play a part, depending on the theme you have. They sometimes can play a part in whether if you show a list of posts or related posts at the bottom of your page, for instance, sometimes you might show related pages or those sorts of things at the bottom. Those featured images are usually what show up on those related posts. So the featured image is kind of like your primary image. If you ever want to represent this page with something, that's what you would represent it with, that particular image. So let's go in and make an edit to this image. We can click on it. Let's say it's too big right now. We want to make it a little smaller. We can just kind of grab these little handles and we could drag it smaller arbitrarily. Or you can click on it. You can go into this little, well, you can delete it with that button, or you can edit it with this. Oops, click on it again. Edit it with that little picture icon. Brings us back up to this window where again we can edit the caption again. But here's an interesting option. Here we can pick to center the image. So notice it's centered now. And we can also select a size right here. We can have it scaled down to 70% instead of 100%. Maybe it was too big. Hit update. Now that doesn't change the image that's uploaded into the system. So if you try to insert that image into another page later on, it's going to give you the full option of that full size again. We're just scaling it down for this particular page right now. Everybody with me on this one so far? At adding images? Okay, pretty simple. All right, so that's adding an image. We've centered it. I mean, that's all pretty basic. So, I mean, this is like Word, so you know how to bullet items, things like that. The place where it gets a little bit tricky is the formatting or the layout location. This was a table. Let me move back down here. Yeah, this particular formatting, sometimes formatting gets a little bit tricky. So let's say, for instance, let me come back up to the top just as a reference. So now we're on this page. We have an image. We have text. We have headers. This area here, do you know your child is bright? I think this has some special formatting. So let's go back and see what that is. Let's come up to here. Up here. It's up higher. Not sure where it went. It's below that. Oh, okay. In some cases, there's some special code to make a page work the way it, look the way it should look. In this case, there is some code right here. Actually, let me go. Yeah. there's some code right here, and so if you deleted this code, it would affect what's on the page. Or if you put your cursor in here and you added a space or something, or you deleted a little part of this, it's going to break part of that web page, because this code is representing usually it's little scripts here and there to get little certain things to happen. And some cases the page isn't just basic text, sometimes it has little script areas. So if you see those little bracket items with the little square brackets on the end, just try to avoid that, because you don't want to you don't want to delete it or add a little space in there by accident or something, because that would potentially break that part of the web page, so it wouldn't represent properly. So just be aware of that. But let's look down. Let me find something else that's on here, like this table. It's a good example. Let's go down to the table. Sometimes trying to edit text, actually right above that table, I'm just going to stick my cursor in here. Let's say I put my cursor here into this header area, and I hit return, and I move my cursor back up. And let's say I want to add a paragraph text, and I just start typing. Well, it's typing now in the header format, because I put my cursor here when I started, and then I moved up. So just FYI, if you want to retain paragraph format and not header format, come to the end of the paragraph, the previous paragraph, hit return there, and now you can start typing, and it retains the paragraph format. So, in other words, if I put my text in here, it's going to be a header. If I put it up here, it's going to be a paragraph. So if you want to retain paragraph formatting, come to the previous paragraph, hit return, and then start typing. That's kind of important. And if you make a mistake, you can delete backspace stuff. Sometimes you can get into trouble doing that. Maybe you backspace and you went over some underlying code that was inside, those paragraphs or something. So if ever there is a mistake, you can actually come down the page, and there's all this extra stuff on the page down here. What I'm looking for is there's actually an item that allows you to go back to previous revisions of this page, or any page, and sometimes it's hidden. So what you need to do is come up to this is just part of WordPress, you come up to this thing over here on the right. It says Screen Options, and this way you can get to the access of turning on and off these different widget areas that are on the page editor. So like, for instance, we maybe don't need to see all this stuff cluttering up our page while we're editing. So you can hit the Screen Options button to expand this section just to clean up our page editor here. And it's going to be on a per user basis. So if you as a user come in here and you start like say clicking on some of these, as I click on these, they are removed from the page, and they're only shown when you click on it. So author, let's as an example, I'm going to show you as an example. The author is way down here, where you can assign the author of who's going to be on the credit for this page. I just changed it to Tara, and I'm going to come back up, and if I want to remove the author from showing on the page because it's just cluttering up my page, I can remove that here. Then and instantly it's gone. The author's no longer down here as an option. It only removes visually the widgets from this page. It does not affect your page on your website at all. These are just different editing options here. So if you want to kind of clean up your page, we can get rid of this membership stuff, because we never use that on this website, so we can remove that. We can remove a lot of this stuff. So we can, when I want to add in though, I want to add in revisions. This is what I was looking for. Revisions weren't visible, so I'm going to add in revisions, and I'm going to close that Screen Options back up. I'm going to scroll down the window, and usually revisions are very near the bottom of the page. And there's our different revisions that are available for this page. There's typically going to be 3. And what you can do is it auto saves these about, I think it's every 10 minutes. It will save this page or blog post or what have you. it will save them every 10 minutes. And what you can do is you can go back to previous revisions by clicking this as a link, and it's going to ask you, it's going to show you the different revisions. It's going to say, do you want to go back and revert to this other revision? So that's a good option. If you made a change that you didn't like and you screwed something up, you can revert back to that. I'm going to show you just a couple more things here. On the page attributes section over here, inside of this widget, these are also, you can collapse them to kind of clean up the screen if you want. You have a page attribute over here where you can actually assign a parent page. If I want to make this page a sub page of another page, I can click it here and assign a parent page. Maybe I can make this be underneath. I can make this page appear underneath the About Us page. I would be careful in doing that because we've already kind of laid out your site pretty well. And if you do that, it's going to change your links as well. So if I changed the hierarchy of the page and I made this a sub page of, let's for instance say, your About page, what it's going to do when we update this page, I'm not going to click update because I don't want to save all these changes I've done, but if we do hit update on here, it would update that, and it would actually put in automatically the About page inside of the, oops, I gotta spell that right, the About page inside of our URL, or also, this is also known as a, they call it a permalink. This is the URL for this page. So I'd be careful, and you do have the option if you want to make this a sub page, or as you create pages, that's where it's most importantly. When you create pages, you can assign it as a sub page of another page. So that's usually when you do it, is when you create the page. If you change it later, you can. If you change it later and make this a sub page of the About page, and you actually hit update, it's fine, except for it will change your URL for this page, which might break some links, and it might even break your menu, the link in your menu. So it means we may have to go back and fix some things later. So I would avoid moving pages around unless you know what you're doing there. Just FYI. Another thing that's pretty interesting here is, this is something you can do without making any problem on your site, is if you want to give a page, let's look at this page real quick. On this page we have something over here called a sidebar, and the sidebar has different content on it. If we come over to the page editor, we can determine if we want to have a sidebar at all or not, and if we want to have it on the right side or on the left side, and those sorts of things. So we have different choices. So the most common thing is going to be either a sidebar on the left or the right, and we have kind of a default setting, which is a sidebar on the right. So if we don't choose anything, all pages will have a sidebar on the right. If for some reason you want to do something weird, different with this page, you could put a sidebar on the left, you could put a sidebar on the left and the right by picking these different items here. So here's sidebar on the right, which it already has, sidebar on the left. Another thing, what's most popular, the most popular choice is either just leave it as default, or what is another option that is a good option is to select this one, which is full page with no sidebar. Just once in a while you want to have a full page with no sidebar at all, and I'll show you an example on the contact page. I did that. You'll notice that the contact form pretty much takes the whole width of the page, and there's no sidebar getting in the way. So that's just an option you have when you're editing any page to do that. It just gets rid of the sidebar. So normally just leave it as default unless you have a reason to change that. We can publish a page. I already showed you that right here by hitting update. You can publish a page, which takes these changes and makes them instantly appear on your web page. And to see that reflect on your web page, you come to that web page, and if you already have it open, you have to refresh it, usually by F5 or Control F5, or hit the little refresh icon on your browser. Now we didn't save this change. We didn't save the change, so we're not going to see any updates, but we can look at the changes here in the this little preview button over here. If we hit preview changes, It shows us those changes without actually saving them, which is kind of a nice feature. And the main benefit of that is you can see the changes. Notice the header stuff I put in here, all this stuff that's new. That's not actually on the public website, but it is in this preview that we're looking at. We also added this image in here, and see I broke that little code, so it's giving us a little error message right there because I broke that code. So here we have some changes showing in our little preview, and opened it in another instance of the browser here. And if we like our changes, we can go ahead and hit update. I normally just update. I don't often preview. I just hit update, and then I come back over here to the actual live site, and I preview, and I refresh it, and I look at it. If I don't like a change, I come back here and I fix that, and I make it the way I want. So I don't often use the preview, but it is available if you want to do that before you commit changes, especially if you're not sure how it's going to look with the formatting. So you have the preview option there. That's preview changes. If you go to the view page button here, the difference here is that it's going to actually view the live page, whether the changes were updated or not to that page. It's always going to view the live page. Now you have an option of saving a page in a draft form, draft status. So we can come up to here and go to pending review or draft, either pending review or draft. If you save either of those statuses, hit OK. And once you hit update, it won't commit that change until you hit update. But once you hit update, if you made it draft or pending review, then that page actually comes off the live website. It is removed from the website. It's no longer published. So that's a way that if you have something like, oh man, I screwed up that page, or oh, I was working on this paragraph and I didn't get to finish it, I want to come and add some more things to it, you can save it as a draft, come back later, continue editing it, and once you're ready, or once someone else has previewed it and approved it, then you can do the publish and then update. And once you've published it, it's live instantly. Okay, so that's a pretty important issue there. Now I don't want to save these changes because I've kind of screwed up a lot of stuff here, so I'm going to not update this page. And the way you can not update it is just go to some other place on the site, on the dashboard here, any other area, and don't hit update, and it'll just not commit those changes. So let's just go to posts, click on posts here, and I'm just going to show you real quick. Posts look exactly like pages, except we don't have a post tree view like we did on the pages. The real difference between posts and pages is pages fit into a hierarchy and are typically in the menu, and they have a hierarchy. You've got your main pages, your kind of your top level, then you have sub pages. And the difference between a post is it shows up in your blog. So, and they are assigned categories. So if you come to this particular, this link here on this page is actually in the header, so it's on all the pages. This link is actually a category that was assigned when we posted a blog post. So if we click on this, it should show us, if there are any, it should show us a blog post. Here it is. That was assigned to that category. So the difference between the post and the page is the post is a blog item, and it's usually very transient, that has a chronology to it, that they're listed kind of the last most recent one you do is shown at the top of the blog page, and as you add more, the older ones move down the list. So they're kind of shown in a list under the different available by different categories that you assign to them. You can also look at recent blog posts, because we added this as content as a little widget area here. We have recent blog posts. So if you add a blog post, they'll all show here. You also have a blog link down in the footer of your site. You have a blog link which should show all of your blog posts. And as you begin to add more blog posts, this page will fill up with more of this sort of from here to here. It'll show more of these in a row, in a list. It'll show, you can click on the heading and it goes to that blog post. So a blog post is usually something where you're kind of describing, here's what's going on. It's like a moment in time. Here's what's going on. Here's an event coming up. Here's information about some organization we just spoke with. You have all different things you could do in a blog post. And then the other thing about blog posts is people can comment. They can log in and comment here. Post comment here. They can type in here and they can put a comment in there. And that's the difference really between a post and a page. So the page is in the menu, blogs are not, but they show up in a list and also in a category view. Other than that, the post can, you go into the edit. So you find the blog posts, there'll be a whole list of them here once you start blogging more frequently. There'll be a whole list of them here. You can edit them, view them, trash them, take them off the website by marking them as draft or trashing them. But they act just like pages in the sense of how you edit them. They have the same editor. There may be a couple features that aren't here, but essentially you've got almost the same view here. A few minor changes. One thing is categories. This is what's really unique to posts. You can assign a blog post to a category. I recommend every blog post you do, you just go ahead and check off blog. That way you can look at all your posts in one place at any time that you want to. And then you can also kind of show different posts as under different categories. So for instance, I'm going to show you under the posts menu, you can assign, or you can actually create categories through this link here. And this creates what categories you can select when you're assigning categories to a post. So let's go to the categories link here. And we'll see what categories we have. So these are basically just ways that you want to segment your, or kind of put in different buckets, your blog posts. So you might have some, based on, you might have events, and maybe every time you have a different seminar or something, you post about it. You post a blog post and you can assign it events. And that way someone can come up into your website and automatically, if you create a new category and you assign a blog post to it, the categories will show right here in a list right here horizontally, just like the pages do. So you'll have events as a link here once you start creating events. So based on whatever your interests are, you might have I don't know, resources. You already have a resources page. I don't know what you might blog about, but whatever you blog about, maybe different trends in your industry. You might have a blog category called trends. So as an example, let's go ahead and just create a category here. We'll call it trends, or we could call it trends in vision, whatever. And we can assign it, if we wanted to create it as a subcategory, we could assign a parent category here. We don't need to do that. We can give it a description here if we want to. Let's see, let's just say these posts represent the latest trends in our industry. Put whatever you want. So we add this category. Now it shows up as a category option and even has a little description. So now when we come up, say we want to add a new post, just like I didn't show you the add new option, so you can add a new page just from this link and we can add a new post. It works just very simply. The most common thing you'll be doing is probably adding posts. So you hit the add new post here, you come up here and we give it a name. So this works just like in pages. We give it a title, and this title becomes the URL or the web address and how to access this blog post. Let's give it a page. Let's just say we have new child therapy discovered. If I could type, that would be good. Alright, now we can come down. There's no URL here yet. Oh, there it is. It just showed up. It takes a few seconds and then it just assigns it. Now, if we want to change this, like I mentioned in Pages, if we want to change this, we can. This is actually a really good thing about WordPress, is it takes your title and it makes the URL very user-friendly and very friendly to search engines. This URL is crawled by search engines, and what's really good about it is it uses actual words that are relative to the actual content that you're putting in here. So in a lot of different content management systems on websites, they use all kinds of weird characters and things that don't make sense. So this is a really good thing for search engines. So, but it does that automatically. So you put in your post title. I'm going to create a blog post, and I want to just start saying whatever. I'm going to start saying you just start posting, you know, start breaking it down how you want. I'm going to say there was an old way like I type doing things. Then you come down here, this is the new way. You can start talking about stuff, right? Now you can come in here. What I like to do is kind of put in the content and then I come back and format it, because it gets a little bit weird in how it behaves. Like I was showing you before, you might start formatting things and it starts adding headers where you don't want them, and it's easier to add the content. You can also do it, you can also add your content from a Word document. Just type it in Word, copy the whole Word document, select all, copy, and just paste it right in here, and it pastes in pretty good. And you can retain some of the formatting, like bold text and things like that. The one thing you want to be aware of though is if you bolded text in Word by just using a bold feature like that, that is not the same as a header like I was talking about. So for the benefit of search engines, if you're interested in getting a lot of people finding your website, you're better off not just assigning bold through or what you want to do is paste it in from Word if you did it that way, and come back and reformat it by re-highlighting the bold areas that are meant to be headers and actually assign them headers. Because if you don't do that, just bold text is not the same as a header. And for one thing is they won't come out big and green like this up here, and they will just look different. They'll just be bold text. So come in here after you get some content in there and add some of your formatting and such. You know, insert your pictures, etc., etc. The important thing to the post on a blog post is assign it to the blog category, so that when someone views your blog, they're going to see all of your content that you meant as your blog posts in basically a chronology, the chronology of all your posts. You could also assign it to our trends and vision, let's say, okay, category. And we can actually publish this right now on the spot if we want to. Good idea is to go ahead and also assign a featured image if you want to make it a little prettier. Add a featured image here and insert an image or two, maybe a hyperlink or what have you. Add some more interesting content and then go ahead and publish it. So that is saving. We hit publish, it's actually uploading to the website and is actually going live. As soon as this is done refreshing, it is live at this moment. We can actually view the post right here. What I like to do is I do like a control click, so it opens it in a new tab so I don't lose my place right here. Control click, nice little trick there. So here's the blog post we just created. It just put our header, it took in the title automatically, it created a timestamp here, it said that the author was me, I called my username test, and it created the header and the paragraph text. It also puts related information because of I just set it up that way to do that, so some of the stuff will automatically relate on afterwards. So that's blog posting. If you want to view it in the website, we just hit the view link from inside the page editor. But if we actually want to, now notice right here, we instantly now have these other categories showed up. And the reason they showed up is because we assigned a blog post to a category, and now it just shows up. So the cool thing about that is if someone wants to look at all of your blog posts, they can click this right here and get to your blog instantly. It's also, there's also a link in the footer. If we wanted to, we could put it, we could put the blog as another sub menu item. Like here, it's underneath About Us. There's a sub menu item called blog, so they can actually access it that way as well. And the blog, let's add another post real quick just to get, or what I'll do is I'll go back to posts, and I'm going to assign this other one quick edit. I can do quick edit right here instead of going into the actual page editor. If I hit quick edit, it gives me a few options. I can change the title right here. I can change the what they call the slug, which is the otherwise known as the permalink or the URL for that page. I can change the author. I can change, what's really important is I forgot to click blog category when I posted that. So I want to click that and hit update. And now if I come back to the blog and I refresh my browser, that's reloading, notice up here, I'm on the blog category. Now that other blog post showed up. So that's what's typical here is you're going to be blog posting, maybe once a week, once a month, whatever. You can have various people blog posting. And you can have a hierarchy here, or just a listing of chronological order of your blog posts. And if you added a featured image, sometimes those featured images will actually show up here as well. It kind of gets really interesting. And you can see there's comments here, things like that. So that's how the blog works. For the most part, that's all you're probably going to need. But I'm going to show you one or two other things. You can add a link. A link is, these links over here are for links that are going to be in a widget. I need to show you widgets too. This is a widget over here. This area called a sidebar has content that is added by dragging and dropping widgets into that area, and that makes up the sidebar. This area in the footer down here is also known as a widget area. So these areas have basically, being a widget area means we can drag and drop different content to there. So as an example, let's go to I'm going to collapse this one just to clean it up so it doesn't get too busy for you. We can come up to the best way actually to get to the widgets is actually not this one that says widgets. That's something different. You want to come to the appearance menu and then widgets. These widgets are different, and maybe I'll show you that if we have time, but I'm going to come into this is the actual widget areas. These are the widget areas that we can drag widgets. These are the available widgets shown here. These are all the available widgets. And these are the widget areas that are basically sidebars and whatnot. Sidebars and footers and things. So this is pretty important. You don't do something here unless you kind of know what you're doing, unless you're willing to just kind of mess with it and then remove what you just messed with, because this goes live right away on your site. Let's open up one of these things here called homepage, and I'm going to come back. I'm going to close the blog. I'm going to come back to the home page. Before I do this little menu up here, this little menu system at the top, this shows only because I'm logged in right now and I'm a user on this website. So it's just a quick shortcut to some of the administrative things. So it gives me my username. I can edit my profile. I can go right to the dashboard from here. I can edit a post. This particular post that I'm on, I can edit it right now by clicking this edit post. If this was a page, then this link would say edit page. I can add a new post or page, etc. So you've got different things you can do right from that little menu, and that's just part of the administrative part of WordPress. It does not show to other people who come to your website. Okay, so I'm going to go to the home page real quick just because I'm going to show you how you can use a widget. And we have different content. So we have different content here. We have some blog posts showing here. We have a widget area in the footer area down here. and one of the widget areas is links, and that'll be a good one I can show you in a second. And notice our recent blog posts updated already with that other blog post I just made. Over here, this is the main sidebar. So now let's come over to the widgets, and let's say the primary sidebar. We're going to expand this little primary sidebar area. Notice there's already two little widgets in here. And I can expand that widget and I can see what it is. This says the Contact Division and Learning Forum. So if we come over here, I'm in the primary sidebar, and it says Contact Division and Learning Forum. So that's where this content is coming from. It's actually coming from this little widget that I dropped into this widget area. I'm going to collapse that. And then we have here, expand that one. This is actually a little menu item. Now just as an example, I'm going to show you what a widget can do. And I'm just going to grab this little calendar widget just for an example. And notice it opens up this little rectangle area. Drop that in there. And once you drop that in there, it's actually live on your site that moment. I mean, it's there now. So I can give it a title, and I can say calendar of our blog posts. And I don't have to hit save for the calendar to show up because it already did when I dropped it in there. The only thing that when I hit save it's going to do is save any configuration I made to the calendar widget area. So I'm going to go ahead and save that little because I just updated it here. And different widgets have different configurations. So if we expand this widget, this one has a title. It also has a drop-down option for different things. So you know, you can also delete the widget or just, I'm not going to change it. I'm just going to close that. So all I did is I dragged and dropped this calendar widget. I can drag it off just as easily, and it removes from the website instantly. But so I can drag it back, and I can move it into a different location. Let's put it up at the top. Let's put it in the middle. Okay, we'll drop it right there in the middle. I assigned a title to it, and I saved it. Now if we come back to the home page and I hit refresh on my browser, it should have a calendar, and there it is. And what that calendar is, it's a built-in widget of, you know, widgets provide functionality, different functionality or different content on your site. And this particular widget provides a calendar of your blog post. So it shows that it has a live link here. I can click on any day where there's a link, and it's going to show me the blog post I did or anyone did on that day. And you can go back in time, etc. So, you know, I'm not sure how much use that really has, so I don't usually use that widget. I can drag that off, just drag it anywhere off the screen over here, and it goes away. If I refresh the page, it's already off the website. It's instant. So this can get a little mind-numbing because there's so many widgets available. Widgets are available because we added plugins, and plugins are extensions that give functionality to your website. So for instance, a contact form is created by a plugin. The menu is created by a plugin. Almost everything that the site does has a different plugin that's enabled that enables a function or a feature of the website. Plugins, you don't need to get into this detail. I'm just going to breeze over this, so don't try to learn this part. I'm just letting you know or be aware of there are plugins. I've installed like 1,000 plugins already, almost here in the system that are available to add different functionality to the website. And to make a plugin available, we just have to activate it. And once we activate it, it becomes available in the menu system somewhere over here. One way or the other, it's going to show up over here. Now the plugins that are already installed, some of these offer widgets, some of them don't. And the ones that offer widgets will be available under this widget submenu here. So for the most part, you're not going to mess with this. You just say, hey Jeff, I want to have my, we just created a new Facebook page or a Twitter account, and we want to show are Twitter icons right here where that calendar is showing. And so what I would do is I'd go and I'd know which plugin to activate to get the Twitter icon to show up. I know which plugin to activate to get the Facebook icon. Or maybe if you even want to have, let's say, your Facebook posts that are on your Facebook wall to show up on your website, then maybe that's a different plugin or whatever. So I enable whatever it is based on, you just tell me what you need. That's why I'm here, and I hook that up for you. And then, if it takes me more than 10 minutes, then I might have to add whatever charges or whatever. But usually I can do little things here and there for you. The footer area, this has recent posts in here. This one has footer 2. This has the custom menu and a search bar. So if we come back over to the footer area and we kind of go down the page, this little search bar, that's a widget. That's created by a widget. So that's just giving you an FYI. So you have access to that section. You may not want to go in and start messing with it because it affects your site instantly. But your best bet is to say, unless you really want to get into this, your best bet is to say, hey, can you just do this for me, and I'll make that change. So most of the time, you're not going to be messing with that stuff. So what you'll really be doing is maybe making a little edit in a text on a page, or you might add a link. Let's go to the resources, and maybe there's a link you want to add in there or something like that. And so it might be something that this is most likely, these areas are probably just a matter of editing the page itself in most cases. This particular stuff over here, I had to edit a little widget area. So if you need to edit these, I may need to kind of do it for you because it's not just a page section. So this has been Jeff Kemp from Site Subscribe. I hope that you found this tutorial valuable, and I'd love to hear some feedback from you if you want to go ahead and visit my website and leave a comment. Thanks. Bye-bye.